statements and their responses to questions. Each candidate will be given a 2-minute opening statement. After that, we will open the questions to open the question and answer segment. During that segment, each candidate will be allowed a 1-minute response. Each questioner will come to the microphone, state their name and address, and ask their question. Please speak directly into the microphone from not more than 4 to 6 inches away. State your question briefly. Avoid making long statements. Those who hold strong positions on many issues, please limit yourself to questioning the candidates rather than statements of your personal opinion. Questions may be directed toward a particular candidate or to the candidates at large. Either way, each candidate will have the opportunity to respond to the question asked. As always, we expect a civil and respectful session. Questions should be respectful, no personal attacks. We ask that there be no expression of approval or disapproval to any candidate, question, or response, and that any applause be held until the session has ended. We are glad you're here and look forward to learning more about the candidates and their positions tonight. After the first session, we'll take a short break and introduce the town council. So to begin, we've chosen our order for tonight, and Fran Neuenbauer will begin.
I am a candidate for the RSU School Board because I value education and because it is important for me to serve the people of the community that has supported my family for 50 years. As an elected school board member, I would endeavor to do what is necessary to fulfill the intent of our mission to cultivate a community of responsible, respectful, and passionate learners. I believe that I am well qualified for this position because I have served on the local school board, and I am a retired teacher who has 21 years of experience in education as a classroom teacher, literacy specialist, and a reading recovery teacher. I am also the parent of 3 children, 2 of whom received their K-12 education in the Orono school system, and 1 who received her education at the United Cerebral Palsy Center in Bangor in the Brewer Regional Program. As a school board member, I have represented our school system on the United Technology Board of Directors and the Southern Penobscot Regional Program for Children with Exceptionalities. I have also served on 4 of the board subcommittees: the Policy Committee, the Joint Professional Discussion Committee, the Contract Negotiations Committee, and the Strategic Planning Committee. I continue to serve on the Strategic Planning Committee as a community member. I believe the wealth of knowledge and insights I have gained through my board membership and my teaching experience will enable me to add depth to the discussions as decisions are being made for RSU 26. Current changes taking place in education are the adoption of the proficiency-based diplomas and the new guidelines for evaluating teachers and principals. I believe it is the responsibility of the board to oversee the steps the school department is taking to meet the requirements of these changes. I also believe that it is the board's duty to oversee the school system as it prepares our students to function in the 21st century, because they will be living in a world of global competition, and it requires people to be proficient in their use of technology. I believe it is important for the board to work together with an eye toward the long-term effects our decisions will have on the educational opportunities we provide. I will be committed to this endeavor.
And Michelle.
Great. Thanks. Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle Smith, and I'm really excited to be running for the RSU 26 School Board. I am a mother of an Asa Adams student, and I'm a faculty member at the University of Maine. I currently teach courses for current and future science and math teachers. My research focus is on ways to improve teaching science, and I'm on the State of Maine STEM Council, which is a group of education and industry leaders who work together to improve education throughout Maine. I have several professional experiences that are well aligned with the proposed strategic plan for the RSU 26 school system. For example, I've written papers, given talks nationally and internationally about the importance of student-centered learning, both for helping students learn and impacting retention. I've also developed several classroom observation programs, including one that I really love, where middle and high school teachers from throughout the state of Maine actually come to the University of Maine, watch university courses, and give faculty feedback on their teaching. I teach a course at the University of Maine along with 2 K-12 teachers about proficiency-based learning standards and how they can be used to design curriculum. So my goals for being on the board are to support excellence and innovative growth. I would work to share what I've learned both statewide and nationally with the local school system, to create opportunities for education stakeholders. So I believe things work best when we have administrators, parents, students, teachers all together working to solve problems, and I love to create those opportunities for growth and also connect into the University of Maine. and to support transparency. So I think the best decision-making processes are when things are open, and I welcome public comment and look forward to understanding the needs of the community. Thank you.
So our first question this evening, it's multifaceted, so bear with me. Are you a co-worker of any current members of the RSU 26 board? If so, which member? And what safeguards would you put in place to make sure that your work relationship remains separate from your board relationship? And we'll begin with Fran. And
My answer to that question is no.
Okay, fair enough.
Don't know what else to say.
My answer is yes. So Brian McGill and I are currently in the same department. We're both in the biology department at the University of Maine. I think the safeguards that I would put in place are the same that I put in place at work. So we often have faculty meetings together where we meet and talk about issues. And of course, there's room for healthy debate, but what's really important to me is that when we walk out of the room, we can all still be friends and have a civil discussion. So the safeguards are the same, that I welcome healthy debate, but I also really value having a collegial relationship with people.
At this time, we welcome any questions from the floor, if anyone has any. Yeah. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. So this is a pretty tumultuous time in the education system in Maine. We just saw a big federal law change requirements for schools. We've had, in the past 5 years or so, a lot of changes in state law, proficiency-based diplomas, new learning standards, more and different testing. We just got rid of big standardized tests. What do you see as the biggest challenges coming down from the state? And how do you think Orono is going to step up to the challenge?
So to repeat the question for those at home, the question was essentially, what do you see as the biggest challenges coming from the state and how we deal with those here in Orono? And again, we'll begin with Fran.
I believe, from what I've been reading in the paper, the money that is assigned to the school departments, there are very few people who understand how that all works. And this year, they're predicting that we are going to, Orono is going to lose $70-some thousand in the money that they are receiving from the state. I think that whole formula, there are very few people who understand it, but I think that whole formula needs to be changed somehow to make it simpler so that people are not misunderstanding how it all works.
Great. So when I started to teach this proficiency-based learning course at the University of Maine, I sat down with a middle and high school teacher who I co-teach it with to plan the course. And the first thing they said to me is, "Wow, Michelle, your stuff is just so last year." And I was thinking, yes, you're right. It changes from year to year. So I think one of the difficult things is that there are constant shifts in what's being mandated from the state, and that we need to be able to provide teachers with the opportunity not only to learn about them, but grow through them. I think the proficiency-based learning standards have great power to help us develop individualized education plans for each of the students, but these things take time and effort and support. And so I think the board can provide that as well. As far as the testing goes, testing's a moving target, but I would really like to see testing being used as a way to have formative assessment on how things are going and be used to help develop rather than as a metric for deciding if things are right or not. Thanks.
Could I respond? I just thought too that we are preparing kids to live in the 21st century, and it's a much different world than it was for me when I got out of school. So I think we have to keep that in mind, and we are going to have to make changes. And these are some of those major changes. The proficiency-based diplomas is one of them, and the new guidelines for evaluating teachers and principals and those Common Core state standards. But I think it's time for change, and we have to try them out, test them out, see if they work.
Michelle, any response? If not, we'll move on.
We can move on.
Okay. Any other questions from the floor?
What?
So one of the changes that I've observed in my own children's school in the past several
for the viewers at home, and correct me if I misstate this, what is your position on instating or changing time for recess in school, specifically for elementary age? Okay.
I believe it's very important to maintain that time for kids to have recess time. It provides them ways to just get together and have fun together, and especially during this time of life when a lot of times they're looking at computers instead of of communicating with one another. And I think that time together for recess is very important and should continue.
Yeah, so I also agree as the mother of one of these students. I've definitely loved our experience at Asa Adams, and I can see how the academic side of things is really helping him to grow. But we are missing a little bit of recess time, and I can see it every day after school where this mob of kids is just ready to run around. So I would be in support of it. I think that the students learn a lot of really important social skills when they're given free time to play, and I would be in support of keeping and extending that as well.
There was a question in the back.
I attended last night's visioning meeting for the school district, and one of the goals that was mentioned was improving communication with and input from various stakeholders in the community. And I'd be curious in particular about if you have any particular ideas about how to improve that type of communication with and input from parent stakeholders.
For those at home, the question was, how would you manage input from parental stakeholders?
Well, I believe that one of the best ways for parents to be informed is to attend school board meetings. And from that, then, if they have questions, they can ask them. And there needs to be time for the school board the school board also develops subcommittees that involve parents. That's another way to get parents involved in the school system and things that are happening there. There's no doubt in my mind that we really have to keep the parents well informed.
Great. So my answer would be we would employ a bunch of different approaches, because I feel that parents are really busy people and they sort of need different ways of interacting with the school board. So I agree that coming to school board meetings or allowing time maybe at the beginning that's designated just for parent time and parent information is important. Email communications. So I've really been enjoying the email communications recently coming out from the superintendent's office. I feel that they've done a great job of helping explain why some of the decisions are being made in a way that I can easily digest Monday morning when I wake up first. Surveys, and then I also think holding some community events, and the community events should not only be for the parents, but should be welcomed for the children as well, so that people don't have to scramble to get babysitters in order to be able to participate.
Any other questions from the floor this time?
Just on an issue that Orno has some history on, how would you make sure that transgender students are welcomed in our schools? I know this is an issue that has come up at the state level.
So the question was, how would you make sure that transgender students are welcome and included in our schools?
By doing just that, by not treating them differently than any of the other students, by including them and helping them become part of that community of students and encouraging students to be kind to them and to include them. It's just the day-to-day relations that they have at school. We need to be sure that they are not being bullied and they are not being treated unfairly. And there's a lot that's been done recently to ensure that, but it's about more than being legal. It's about being kind to these people.
Great. Thanks for the question. So a lot of the issues, the history happened before I moved here, but I've been sure to educate myself by reading books and reading newspaper articles from the Times. And I think one of the things that this community always needs is to celebrate our diversity and educate ourselves. I think that we can educate through hearing from students, their families, the community at large, so resources from the University of Maine. And by fostering a culture where we learn about diversity and are, through that learning, able to accept it. I teach a genetics class up at the University of Maine, and one of the things I do throughout the course is I have guest speakers, I have videos, I have other things so that students can get to know people as people. And so that way when they go out in the world, they see us as a range of phenotypes within a bunch of different genetic outcomes rather than something different.
I'm interested to know, I see Orono as a very special small town in that it has the flagship university for our entire state in its backyard. And to me, that seems like a wonderful opportunity. And I'd like to know what your thoughts are on how well we're using that opportunity as an educational resource for our schools, and if you have any thoughts about how we might change that.
So the question was essentially, how do you plan to, I guess, incorporate the university into the RSU 26 programs, and how do you utilize that resource?
It is definitely a resource, and I think we need to improve the relations between the two, the university and the school system. And I think a lot of that responsibility lies with the people who are in charge, who know where and how to get students to attend. They can attend the university, and they can take courses up there, and they could come to some of those people could come to the school system and do some teaching there too. But it's very important to keep that relationship going. It's been going for a long time, but I'm sure it could be improved as well.
So this is one of the issues that I would really like to tackle as being part of the school board. I've been involved in a number of programs to help science and math teachers throughout the state. And we advertise broadly, and we have teachers who are super involved from a lot of the, we have teachers that drive over 2 hours to come in for our training, but we don't always have teachers represented from Orono. So I'd really like to improve the communication just to make sure everybody knows about these opportunities. They're often even paid opportunities for the teachers from the university side. And then also getting more of the parents, their expertise. I mean, one of the things that I think is amazing is that some of the growth areas and the areas that have been highlighted at the University of Maine are areas in education. And it would be wonderful to have more opportunities for an exchange of ideas between the two places.
Okay. Yep.
Daniel LaPointe, 201 Kelly Road, Town Council. I have a question for both of you. Recently, at the end of 2015, the superintendent was asked if every bit of capital expense was accounted for or projected. Now I heard something that an auditorium is being looked at. Please talk about this.
I was at the school board meeting last night, and that is being considered. Along with improving the athletic fields, they are also looking into building another auditorium. That is in fact true.
For those at home, the question was involving the discussion on a new auditorium and other
sorry.
capital assets. That's all right. Don't worry about it.
Sure. So last night there were budget discussions, and so I think we're looking for resources both to support the staff and the teaching and some infrastructure changes. So my opinion would be to learn more about those issues and about the types of revenue and other things the school has available.
Okay. So I'll just ask a question, and if anybody has one in the audience, feel free to just put your hand up, and I'll be sure to call on you. How do board members most effectively impact continuous school improvement? Fran, we can start with you. And
Okay. Could you repeat the question?
Yep, sure. It's just one of the prepared questions. How do board members most effectively impact continuous school improvement?
Well, one of the main duties of school board members is to develop and adopt policy, and that's what governs the school department. And so I think that's the way that the school board can do that.
Okay, Michelle?
Listening is my main answer. I think that they have to listen to the constituents, listen to the administrators, the teachers, the students, the budget, and from there help develop policies that encompass the whole community. I think they're also effective when they're able to share things in an open and transparent way back to everyone.
We can do another prepared question. How does the school board balance the need to provide a quality education with the need to respond to the local taxpayer burden?
That is that is an ongoing issue in Orono. That the taxes are high, and there are people out there. There are more people in Orono now who are retired, and so they are looking at these issues very closely. And it's a balancing act. Provide the best education possible, but not to increase taxes so much. And we're up against that every year. And there are people who choose not to move here because of the high taxes that Orono has. And there are others who choose to live here because of, lots of other reasons. But it's something that we face every year.
Okay. Michelle?
So nobody likes to talk about taxes, especially this time of year. But nonetheless, I think the first thing is to look for inefficiencies. So that always has to be, with the dollars coming in, are there ways they can be used more wisely? And then also to have a long-range view of the way the taxes are. So, of course, paying higher taxes, people don't want to do that. On the other hand, we want to maintain a high quality of living in this town. I moved to this town because of the excellent school system, and we want to attract other young families to come here, too. So there's a return on the investment that's more long-term. If we invest heavily in the schools, in turn, we'll have a community that's worth investing in as well.